Today I want to talk to you about the difference between polyrhythms and polymeters, two fantastic tools that you can use in your music to create more groove and get people dancing straight away. By the way, what a cool studio is this, huh? Look at these colors, amazing, I love it. So first I'm going to play you a track idea that doesn't have any polymeters or polyrhythms applied. Then I'm going to show you a version of that track where they have been applied. Then I'm going to explain to you exactly what each of those terms mean, and then I'm going to show you how you can implement them really simply in your own music to start getting the benefits today. And it doesn't matter whether you produce house, techno, drum and bass, any genre of music, they will definitely be enhanced by these two things. So first, let's listen to that idea with no polymeters or polyrhythms applied. Oh yeah, it's okay, but it's going to get boring pretty quickly. So now let's listen to it with polymeters and polyrhythms applied. Listen to that, the groove just keeps on going, it makes people want to dance, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. First, I want to give a massive shout out to my Accelerator student John, who cracked the top 10 in Beatport. Nice work, John. I'm going to link to your track below this video, and you can also download my Music Producer Starter Pack below this video as well. In this pack, it includes a book, it includes some cheat sheets, some downloadable samples, everything you need to get started with music production. Right, so first thing we're going to cover is polyrhythms. So a polyrhythm is when you've got at least two different rhythms and the notes within each rhythm are evenly spaced, but there are a different amount of notes within the same length of time. I know it sounds complex, but it's actually not that hard once you understand the fundamentals. So for example, you might have 4 evenly spaced notes, and your second rhythm, there would be 3 evenly spaced notes, and both those phrases take the same amount of time to play. So here's an example of that. Now a polymeter, however, is when you've got 2 different length phrases, but the notes within each of these phrases are the same length as each other. So for example, you might have one phrase that's playing 4 16th length notes, and you might have your second phrase that's playing 6 16th length notes. And then those 2 phrases can loop around. And here's what that sounds like. So in this example, we've got 3 kick drums, all evenly spaced. So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But on this other layer, on the 16th, we've got this djembe hit, and this is being hit 4 times in that exact same length. So we've got 3 kicks and 4 of these djembes. So the djembe on their own sound like this. We can hear it's a regular beat, the same space in between them. We can hear that with the kick. Same space in between them. But together, they sound like this. And it just keeps things grooving because these djembes are hitting just before these kicks, and then after 3 hits of the kick, it loops back round. But the thing is, you never use kicks in that way, you always have 4 kicks in a row. But if you just keep this pattern extending out, and this is the trick on how to do it really easily, if you have a hit on a 16th, miss 2 16ths, have another hit, miss 2 16ths, have another hit, etc., and keep on going, then you get this kind of effect. So you've still got 4 kicks in each bar, and it just loops around. So that is the best way to get groove in your drums, and this actually works when it comes to other instruments as well. It doesn't just have to be drums. So let's have a listen to these synths here. Okay, we've got 1, then we're missing 2 16ths. So we've got 1, and then 1, and then 1. And again, with that kick, whoops, let's hear what it sounds like. And I turn off the djembe so that doesn't confuse matters. And here comes the kick. It just keeps things rolling. So that's one of the most common polyrhythms that we use. Now I'm going to show you the second most common polyrhythm that you hear in dance music, which is still not that common, but a triplet in effect. And that's where you have this kind of effect. So if we were to look at that in drum terms, all you need to do is change your grid to triplets by pressing Command and 3 if you're using Mac. and then you have 3 djembes to every 1 kick, and that's going to sound like this, which is going to give a really kind of samba feel. So those are the 2 most common polyrhythms when it comes to dance music. But they don't have to be. You can do crazy different ones as well. So say we want to have 4 kick drums, but we want to have 7 djembes in the same time it takes to play 4 kick drums. Well, then this is what we could do to create that. Firstly, I'm going to delete these existing djembe, zoom in, make sure that triplet mode is now turned off, and then I'm going to just draw in 7 djembes, because that's the amount that we want to play within 4 kick drums. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they don't reach the end of these 4 kick drums, right? So we need to do something about that. Now the way to do it in Ableton is to draw in an extra beat, so 1 more than the amount that you want, because at that point you can then select all the djembe, and then this little marker here, you can drag until that matches up with the end of your 4 kick drums, like this. And you have to have 1 extra than the 7 that you want, because Ableton links it to the beginning of each hit, and then you can just delete that one. So now we've got 7 djembe in the time it takes to play 4 kick drums, the same amount of time, but different beats. So this is how the kicks sound on their own, all evenly spaced. This is how the djembe sound on their own, all evenly spaced, and then together. But as I said, that would be a bit unusual and there's not much use for it. So the other 2 examples I've shown are the 2 polyrhythms that you are definitely most likely to use. I just wanted to give you an example of how you can experiment and take things even further. Boom. Okay, now on to polymeters. So if you remember from the beginning of the video, a polymeter is when you've got at least 2 phrases and the notes within those phrases are the same length, but the phrases themselves are different lengths. So the easiest way to show you this is by using a couple of synth riffs, and that's how I'm going to explain the notion of polymeters and show you how to use them in your own music. So if we've got this basic kick drum and we've got a synth riff that plays 1, 2, 3, 4 16th notes within every kick, it's going to sound like this against the kick. Just repeating. Now if we've got a second synth riff as well, we've got that playing 4 16ths within each kick as well. Kind of hypnotic, kind of cool, but this is how you can use a polymeter. So each of these notes is a 16th long. Let's change the grid to make that clearer. Now I've actually programmed in more notes within this clip. They're just hidden at the moment. So I programmed in 8 notes. So if we change this phrase length, say to play 6 16ths and then loop that, you get this kind of effect. And if we run that on, let's just copy and paste that, like so, then we get this kind of effect. So again, kind of like the polyrhythm, it's just changing all the time and keeping that groove going, because every time this loops through, it takes a while before it gets back to the exact same place where they sync up. So in this, it takes 2 bars before it syncs back to the same place. But if we were to say play, I don't know, 7 notes in this second phrase, like so, and then loop that, it's going to take even longer before you synchronize the 1 and the 1. So you've got more variation over this time. So now let's have a listen to it. Yes. So we could even make it shorter if we wanted. We could make that play 3 notes. That's a pretty common one as well. And then we have this effect. So it's pretty simple when it comes to polymeters. Each of the notes in these phrases in this example are a 16th long, but in the second one we're playing more or fewer 16ths than in the top one. And you could make it a bit more interesting as well. You could double up those polyrhythms. So in this one we're playing, I don't know, 7. In this one we're playing 6. And let's just see what happens, shall we? So we're not actually having any more instruments or any more notes. We've just got a simple kick, these 2 synths, and listen to this just constantly evolving groove and rhythm. Much more interesting and a great way to use arpeggios. But now let's listen when we combine everything together, and I'm going to make some polyrhythms in our track and some polymeters as well. So if we go to our drums, here's one I made earlier. Let's have a look at what's happening in here. So firstly, we've got the normal kick on every beat. We've got a normal clap and the normal hats. Simple. But you can see we've got our djembe polyrhythm, and I've doubled that up with a second djembe, which is just playing one note before on every other of the first djembe. So let's just get those things soloed so we can hear what's going on. Already interesting. Let's bring the normal clap in. So all the drums are interplaying with each other. Now, the second thing that I've done of note is add this gyro, if that's the name of the instrument. And I've just used a polyrhythm here, and I've created triplets. So there are 3 of these hits with every kick drum, as we looked at earlier. So now let's listen to what happens when we bring that in. So now we've got something pretty interesting. Now what I'm going to do now is just add a couple more beats in, a standard hi-hat, and then I'm just going to add in a few tom drums, the last of which are going to be triplets here, so we can create some really interesting beat. So now we've got something much more interesting going on. Now let's add some of the other elements as well. So we've got our first synth line. And this is a polymeter because we've got these 3/16ths playing, then it loops right back round, so we've got this constantly evolving groove. So listen how much interest there is already. Now let's bring in the second synth riff. So we could, as we did earlier, create the second polymeter. And let's just loop around those 5 beats and see what happens. So the easiest way to do this is once you've created your 16th pattern here, or it could be on 8ths, so it could be like this if you want, you know, so it's half as frequent. It doesn't have to be on 16ths, but 16ths or 8ths would be the most common. So let's just loop around this 8th riff now. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 playing. And when you're copying and pasting, then make sure that you select the blank space as well, so it's even when it loops around. Let's just duplicate that. Now let's have a listen. Now I've combined both polyrhythms and polymeters on the stab riff. There are the triplets there at the end. And now the last thing we need to bring in is the bass line. And the bass line is just standard, but I'm bringing in each note just before the beat. I think on the 16th. So by using polyrhythms and polymeters, we've created something way more interesting than what we started out with. Yeah, so that's it guys. I hope I've explained things clearly. If you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, please do consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the like button. Buccaneer. Hit the like, Buccaneer.
What?
Yes, Buccaneers. And you can also download my music producer starter pack below this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want coaching from me and to get your music to a professional level, do check out my Accelerator program. And until next time, thanks for watching, cheers, and happy producing.